A store the other day. Yesterday I've been, getting myself settled here, and I was in a store. I think it was Target, and I was checking out, and guy said, "How you doing?" I said, "Good. How you doing?" He said, "I am blessed and exceedingly well favored." And I thought, what a great response. And I want you to know that I feel blessed and humbled and exceedingly well favored to be here with all of you today and to walk into this space. Last time I walked in here about a month ago, I was walking in as a guest, a candidate. And so now I'm walking in a different capacity. So I'm honored and privileged to do that. So thank you for welcoming me into your space. I feel your love and welcome, and thank you so much for that. And now I've forgotten everything I was going to say. All right, so yeah, let the river run. So you'll find that I sometimes just break into song. You'll find sometimes that I start crying. You'll find sometimes that I just stop. But I know that you're with me, and I know that I trust that. And so I'm going to begin this morning with this song that keeps running through my head as I've been thinking about this talk today. And it's a song that is actually one I recorded. It's just a little hymn. It's very simple, written by a woman named Rose Sanders, who is a beautiful African-American woman. And the song speaks volumes. It's a very simple song, but it really speaks volumes to, I think, us, and possibly more especially to her. And anyway, so there's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river that's flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. And so I want you to know today that there's a river flowing in your soul. There's a river flowing really as your soul. And that river, I believe, is that life, the very life of God, the life of source. If God is a word that triggers you in some way, don't use that word. Use source, use spirit, use universe, whatever it is that you can align with that helps you to really connect with life. Because there is a life that is living itself as each of us in its fullness, in its full capacity and beauty and wonder and majesty. And it is here to live itself, and we're here as its vessels. Do you believe that? Yeah. We are its vessels. And each of us is a unique expression of that life. A unique and wonderful expression of that life. And that life of spirit, that river that's flowing as you and as me, is inexhaustible. It is changeless. It is eternal. And I believe that's who and what we truly are. And so in one way, I'm using the river. I want that to be our touchstone, our point of reference. That there is a river of life. And it is that same river that flows through all of us, all of creation. And we're connected in it as that, right? But also, when we look at this idea that poets and authors and musicians have using the river as a metaphor for our life experience. I don't know about you, but my life experience changes all the time. I mean, just look at me here, right? You know, that while that life of God's source is constant, that's what we get to hold on to, while all this other stuff just seems to be happening in our lives. And so as we look at this idea of the river as a metaphor for our own life, or maybe our life as a metaphor for the river, I'm not sure which it is, I want you to hold on to that idea. I was in last year, about this time, a little earlier, I was on sabbatical for 6 weeks, and I traveled to the east coast, the East Coast, not the East. I traveled to the East Coast. I grew up in Georgia, and so I was there, and I was in the mountains some, and I did quite a bit of hiking and walking by the river and the rivers and streams there, and it was just a beautiful time. But it reminded me so much of watching the river and how the river just flows sometimes, you know? Sometimes it flows very easily and smoothly, and it just flows down, it trickles down, it flows very easily and effortlessly. And then sometimes, you watch it and it comes up against some boulders or some fallen trees, something that would seem to impede the flow of the river. But it doesn't stop the river. It always finds its way, moving around and over and under, and it's finding its way. Just like you and I are finding our way in this life. Finding our way truly always back to our realization that we are the river. We are that life. Back to that place of knowing our unity. And as I said, you and I are these rivers of God, these rivers of source. And you and I have come together right here in this space, in this time, in this place. We each bring our own unique paths, our own experiences, our own preferences, our own ideas, our own gifts and talents. We come together and we are creating something. Just like the streams flow together and they come together and they create a river and the river flows into the ocean, I believe that you and I are here coming together at this time and this place in this moment to co-create something beautiful and expansive and amazing. Can I hear a yes or an amen or a praise the Lord or something? Yeah? That we are here by a divine appointment, so to speak, to create something. I don't yet know what that is, but guess who does? We all do. And I know that just like that river flows, sometimes it flows so easily and effortlessly. It's like life just is flowing. Don't you love it when that happens? Just nothing to disturb your peace of mind, just flowing in life, and it's just easy and effortless. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes we do come up against those boulders. those rocks, those fallen limbs, whatever they might be. And I'm not naive enough to think that that won't happen. It probably will happen in our flow together. But what I know too is watching the river finds a way. The river makes its way over and under and around and through. It doesn't stop. And I believe that as we together practice our unity principles, practice our spiritual principles, that we together will find a way. You know, once somebody gave me a book once that the title of it was "What's in the Way is the Way," and I thought, what the heck does that mean? What's in the way is the way, but I think I'm beginning to understand that. Are we willing to recognize that what we think is in the way is actually the way? And that we get to find the way together. I'll be honest with you right now. I do not have all the answers. Uh-oh, I know. So I guess I better leave right now. Just walk right out the door. But I do trust and know that we together can and will find a way when we keep awareness of that life, the river of God that is flowing in us and through us and as us, and as we together commit to practicing unity principles and doing our spiritual practice, whatever that is for you. I believe that. And again, I know you've noticed that sometimes rivers twist and they turn and they go in a different direction than we might think they will. And I don't know if you've noticed life is like that sometimes. I mean, like I said, I'm back in Dallas after being gone for quite a while. When I left here 8 years ago, I never thought I would be back here. But what I know about that is if we understand and we recognize and we trust, and we can say to Spirit, to Source, to the universe, bring it on. I trust that life, the Spirit of life, that river of life is guiding me, it's guiding you. But I know also what happens sometimes is that we resist. I don't want to do that. Right? Anybody else ever resist the flow of Spirit? How's that working for you? Dr. Phil might say. How's that working for you? Yeah, it doesn't work. Because when we resist the flow, the twists and turns of life, guess who suffers? We do. And guess who else suffers? Everybody around us. Right? So the idea really is to trust the flow of that river, to go with the flow. Go with the flow. The quotes up here that I've already forgotten about, but John O'Donohue is a poet. You may be familiar with some of his writings. He said, "I would love to live like the river flows, carried by the surprises of its own unfolding." I would love to live like the river flows, carried by the surprises of its own unfolding. And so there is that opportunity for us to be in the moment with however things flow and twist and turn in directions that we may not expect. Because I don't really doubt that that too happens in our collective experience as a community, as a spiritual community, right? So be in that place of being with what is, without resisting. And also what I recognize about the river, let me just say about from me, sometimes, I know nobody else has this experience, but sometimes I want to push the river. I want to make it go my way in my time, and I want to make it happen now. I want what I want, and I want it now. Anybody else? You don't have to raise your hand. I want to push the river. I want to try to make it happen. But what I've also found out about that is that gets me in trouble. And so I know, we've got some great ideas for what Unity on Greenville is going to be and how we're unfolding and what we're co-creating and all that we can do. And we want it to happen now, don't we? we want it to happen now. And I want to invite us to recognize that it's important for us to recognize that Spirit, God, Source, Universe has its perfect time. You know, it's just like when the plants are growing and the flowers are blooming. You're not going to run out there and say, "Why aren't you blooming already?" Or try to force it to bloom. Well, you might, but it's not going to do you any good, right? Can we trust the natural flow of life, of Spirit, in its own perfect timing? Now, I want you all, you're hearing me say this, I want you to promise that you will remind me of that. Right? If I start wanting to push the river. And the last piece of that I want to share with you about the river, that I think is so important. When we understand that the river of life is giving itself in its fullness, in its totality, in all that it is inexhaustible. The life of God, the life of Source is inexhaustible. And our opportunity, I believe, as individual, but certainly coming together as a spiritual community, is to recognize that and to truly just open ourselves up wide, to allow that energy to flow, to allow God, Source, to use us in whatever way we are to be used, recognizing that there is no limit to Source. Our opportunity is to be in the flow and to be the flow. That includes, I loved hearing this morning how you share your space with other groups. It's opening up the doors, opening wide, opening our hearts, opening our arms to embrace anyone and everyone who really wants to come and be a part of this community and to share our resources. I come from Colorado. And some of you may have heard that the Colorado and Nevada and California are in a war over the water in the Colorado River because it's a limited resource. But let's not see our life, the life of God, as a limited resource. There's enough, and there's more than enough for all of us. as we trust that and we allow that and we open ourselves to that, because it is that life of God, the life of Source, that river flowing through us, that is going to change the world, that is going to heal, that is going to make a difference in people's lives. Eric Butterworth, who I love, and I'm sure many of you do as well, said there's a longing at the heart of the universe to flow forth into and perfect all that it has created. This is the basis of all healing and success and overcoming. The kingdom within, which I'm calling the river, is the realm of all potentiality, all substance, all life, all love, all peace, all health, all the good that we can possibly begin to imagine. There's a longing to flow forth as you and as me and as unity on Greenville. And we are here to be its outlets, to let the river run through us, in us, as us. And to trust that it is inexhaustible, unchanging. One more reading I want to share with you is from Khalil Gibran. And I had not heard this before. Actually, this is what inspired me to talk about this today. Someone shared it with me on Facebook. And it just really touched me in a way, and I thought, yeah, thank you, Spirit. He says, they say before entering the sea, the river trembles with fear. She looks back at the way that she has traveled, from the peaks, the mountains, the long winding road which crosses forests and villages, and sees in front of her such a vast ocean that entering it doesn't seem anything less than having to disappear forever. But there's no other way. The river can't go back. No one can go back. Going back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk and to enter the ocean. It's only when entering the ocean that fear will disappear. Because it's only then that the river will know it's not about to disappear into the ocean, but to become ocean. So I encourage us to keep that in mind as we are moving forward. I know sometimes it's tempting to want to look back at how things have been, and maybe longingly look toward the past. And if we can learn from that, I think there's benefit in that. There may be some temptation to look back at the past and regret the past. I would encourage us not to focus on that. But if we can learn from the past and move forward learning from the past, then I would encourage us to do that. But I encourage us to also know that we are here, that we are, again, opening ourselves up to something bigger and deeper and broader and more expansive, I'm hoping, than we even understand yet. And to recognize that it's not about giving up anything, it's not about letting go of who Unity on Greenville is, but it is about becoming something even greater, even more. And I'm trusting that as your minister, your spiritual leader, that I'm also committed to becoming more, to growing and expanding my own spiritual understanding and human understanding as well. So in that idea, I want to share with you, some of you probably read it in my newsletter piece, something I wrote that incorporates, I think, your mission and vision, our mission and vision, and core values. Because this is what I want us to hold together as we move forward. I join with you and know that with divine love as our foundation, we are committed to living unity spiritual principles, awakening to truth, and affirming the innate goodness of all and our oneness with creation. I know that we hold the vision of a world where every being lives in awareness of their sacred oneness and divine light. Together we will work to remember that we are expressions of divine light and share unconditional love in a spirit of service, with acceptance and inclusion for all, as we help to foster conscious spiritual transformation for ourselves and our world. So I join with you in committing to living that statement, purpose, and allowing Spirit, river, to live itself in us and through us and as us, to enrich our lives and to enrich the lives of each other and the world. Because that's why we're here, isn't it? That's why we're here. So again, thank you. I love you. I'm so happy to be with you. And